Number one.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's get it, folks. Time to kick off your 1 o'clock hour, and who better to talk a little NHL than the man himself, Jay Stevens, hockey insider, Utah Mammoth insider for KSL Sports, but let's just be honest here. He's the Utah Mammoth insider for the Hans and Scotty show.
Yeah. How you doing, Jay? Let's get your mic on.
There we go. I got it.
How are you doing, Jay?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I felt like we should have finished that song, though. I'm a huge Beastie Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't mind if it just plays as a bed underneath the whole segment.
I was just reading about them last night. Yeah, let's talk hockey, man. It's crazy right now. Everything's crazy.
So before we get into the playoffs and the Stanley Cup in Florida just laying waste to everybody, let's talk about the newest members. Number 6 and number 11th picks?
I think it was 6 and 12, right?
6 and 12 in the 2023 draft are now signed. And boy, they put together quite a resume overseas.
Yeah, they went over. They won the championship in the KHL, which is, that is basically the equivalent, and some people say it's better than the American Hockey League, as in the AHL or AAA, our AAA league. So the KHL is good. There's a difference. It's a little less physical. It's a lot cheaper. Like there's more cheap shots. A little less physical because they play on the bigger ice. They play on Olympic-size ice. So it's So they went back.
Is Olympic-size ice bigger than NHL ice?
Yes.
Oh,
way more room behind the net. It's wider.
You know that?
I did not know
I
that.
did not know that.
So, but the Olympics are changing to NHL ice from here on out. That was the last vote. So we're going to have that's going to really suit our players because we're going to have NHL players in the Olympics. But in the past, it's always been bigger. That's when the Maverick Center, when the E Center first opened, it was Olympic-size ice. So every time I'd go from like playing normal ice to go to sit,
it's got to be
go to take shots.
Significant difference.
Yeah, especially for goaltending. Because the boards are wider, you kind of I'm not looking back. I don't know I can't see where my net is. It's all muscle memory or like the force. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's
sensory.
It's something.
Spidey senses.
Yeah,
there,
spidey sense. And you have to know where your net is. And when they expand it 10 feet, and then they add another 5 feet behind you, it really changes the game. And it changes your angles, and you think something's going wide, and it goes right in the net.
Okay, let's start with this because both of them are Russian-born, Russian players. Is there a connotation? Is there maybe a perceived conception of what a Russian player is or is about typically? Or are they just no?
No, there's a pretty widespread level of talent coming out of Russia. I mean, clear back to the Olympics when they were super physical and super fast. Then you had Pavel Datsyuk. The magician, like he was just the wizard. He was amazing, and the Russian Rocket with Pavel Bure, who's famously married to Candace Cameron Bure. But those were kind of the Russians that were coming out. You had a short, fast guy, you had a tall guy, and then you had like Datsyuk kind of blew everybody's mind. He's a Russian that, 8th round draft pick. And
Candace Cameron from Full House?
Yeah. She's married to a hockey player.
Yeah, Pavel Bure.
A Russian hockey player.
Yeah, she's Candace Cameron Bure now.
I had no idea.
I wanted to throw that out just for fun.
That's why I love having you on, Jay, because you'll throw in pop culture, you'll mix it all up.
What's her name? Carrie Underwood's also married to a former NHLer.
No, I did not know that.
Yep.
I thought she was married to a rodeoer.
No, that's Jewel.
Oh, that's Jewel. So she's married to an NHLer.
Yeah. So, and he even Mike Fisher, he switched. He was playing, and he's like, all right. She basically told him, "You're coming to Nashville." So he had to kind of get out of his contract and go to play in Nashville. So he finished his contract in Nashville, and then she'd sing the anthem for the Nashville Predators. There you go. But
he's done. He's off the ice now.
Yeah, he played a few years, and then he's been retired for a while.
Look, if you're not really good, and Carrie Underwood wants you to move,
you move.
He was really good, though. He was really good.
Yeah.
If the NHL gets rid of you, you'll be fine. Yeah, financially, you'll figure it out financially with her.
Typically, an NHL career is 4 to 6 years, and you can sing forever. So just go right.
And her earning potential is way higher. Than that.
Oh yeah.
So Russian players don't typically, because I was reading through the resumes and I was reading through Bill Armstrong's comments and everything kind of lends towards Daniel being very physical and very aggressive.
Yeah.
And
He compared him to Tage Thompson. Did you see that
I
part?
saw that.
yes.
And that's got to make everybody pretty excited, because everybody that just saw Cooley and Keller playing with Tage Thompson in the World Championships has to be like, okay, if we get somebody like that, because everybody wanted Tage Thompson at that point, but that's going to cost you too much. Like, Buffalo's not going to give him up. He's their best player.
Because he's a tough sucker.
He's amazing.
And then Dimitri, it feels like Dimitri has kind of the same attachment, just a real toughness,
Yeah.
but more of a defensive player.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's a D-man. And you know, they what do they call them? The Russian Redwoods or whatever. They're both 6'5", 6'6", 210. They're both exactly what we've been kind of talking like we need. We need size. We need some kind of intimidation, because right now we're not hard to play against, right? We're fast, but we're not hard to play against.
Right. I don't think anybody's fearing.
No. And what did I text?
Coming in
What did I
against the
text you last night?
Yeah.
I said, talk about it all you want. I'm going to get crap for this. Talk about it all you want with new hockey, fast hockey, and all this stuff. When it's playoffs, it's bumps and bruises. It's
still
intimidation.
It's the old formula.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't mind having a couple of mammoth Russian dudes ready to lay the wood out there when it comes time for the regular season. Now, these guys are still just 20 years old.
20 years old. And first round draft picks, like you said, 2 years ago. And this is what I've been trying to explain to people about what we did with Iginla, is because we drafted him and we're like, okay, now go cook.
Yeah.
And then we'll sign you. They ended up signing him because they wanted him to have the money to train. But, you know, it's common to take your first, if he's not a, first, second, or third overall pick, then it's common to send him to the minors or to juniors, or if you have the option to send him to a league that's basically one step below the NHL and let somebody else pay him, and then you wait 2 years and then sign them to their 3-year entry deal. Like, that's just free development, and it's smart money, and that's huge for us. And they did go develop, and they're awesome. And we saw Boot last year. He played here. He was at Dev Camp. He was at that game in the Delta Center. He scored 4 goals,
That's
I believe.
right. Yep.
Like, he definitely stood out, especially because he's a mountain.
Yeah.
That's a big boy.
Yeah.
6'5", throw him on 3-inch skates,
Yep.
6'8"-ish.
And that's at 20 years old. There might be still some growth there.
Yeah,
Maybe.
there really could be. And he's 210 now. You get him in here with these, all the nutritionists and the strength and conditioning coaches.
So when we see that they've been signed, because as Scotty mentioned, they were drafted. Now we see that they're signed. Does that guarantee minutes on ice for Mammoth next season?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. So I imagine we'll see it. I was kind of surprised today because we re-signed DeSimone today on a one-way deal, which really surprised me. For a guy that's got 58 NHL games and 357 AHL games, I was looking, and I may be wrong, but the contract I saw was $800,000 one way. So even if we send him to the AHL, he's going to make $800,000. So it surprised me that they re-signed him, because I thought there was, between Bortuzzo and DeSimone, I thought there were some spots available on the roster, but now there really isn't. So somebody's going to have to really shine at camp to make the roster. But they've been high on Shimashev for a long time, and I think he makes it. I would expect to see Boot start in the minors. I could be wrong. If he comes in and scores 4 goals in Dev Camp like he did before and has a really great camp, and he gets, we see him do really well in the preseason, they could both be locks.
Did you hear how he said it?
Yeah.
Daniel Boot,
Yeah.
spelled B-U-T.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I know the
Not
jokes,
even like the
online
butt,
jokes,
but like the butt.
Yeah.
But it's Boot.
Daniel Boot.
But Daniel Boot.
Yeah.
So when you look at those two,
Yeah.
if there was a one player that you think would be a part of the team next year, and you had to pick one,
Simashev.
Simashev.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just defensive juggernaut, because Boot is more looked at as a two-way guy.
Yeah.
But Shimashev is just a defensive juggernaut.
He is so good in front of the net. And I've watched 10 games worth of tape on him and watched him as much as I could. And he's good. Is he NHL ready yet? I don't know. But playing in the KHL and coming out as a champion tells me that they're right there and ready. And when you win, everybody wants you.
So a 3-year entry level contract, that's not guaranteed, or is it?
3-year entry level is same for everybody.
Yeah.
Every first round pick gets the same money, the same contract. Like the NHL
Is it guaranteed once they sign?
Yeah.
So 3-year guaranteed contract.
But the contracts are the contracts are split. So if they get sent, so it's $950 in the NHL, it's $95 in the AHL.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a steep cut.
That's quite the cut.
But it typically comes with a $950 signing bonus, though. So
Okay.
those guys have the money to survive, train. The main goal of the money isn't to make them rich. The main goal of the money is to say, this is now your full-time focus. You're not doing anything else. Mm-hmm. You have money in the bank. You train every day. You eat right every day. You work out every day. And you, like Bill Armstrong says, the price of the NHL,
The rent's due.
the rent is high.
I
and
love
it's
what he
due
says that.
every day. I love it. I love it. But that's when it comes. Like they give you the money, and you spend that money on getting better. And that's why they give you the big signing bonus.
Okay, so that's the big news of the day is the 2 signings of the 2 draft picks. But we're hoping for other news because there's some free agents out there that are going to be floating around. And I've texted you probably 3 or 4 times about Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites, and I want a dude that's just ticked off the world.
Yeah.
And how dare they take off jerseys, throw his jersey on the ice, post videos of them burning it,
Oh, yeah.
and you're not even in an elimination.
Yeah.
At that point, I think it was 3-2 or I can't remember where they were against Florida, but it was not an elimination.
No.
That's the problem with playing in those bubbles. I don't know what to compare it to here. I keep saying the New York Yankees, but if you play for the Montreal Canadiens or you play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, there is no more of a fishbowl to play in than those 2 markets for NHL players. Everybody knows you everywhere you go. It's like being in the NBA, right? Like everybody sees you and they know who you are and they know what you've done. And they have high expectations and they don't care about the business side of it. So that what they see is a guy like Marner who should get $12,000 to $14,000, right? And you've got other guys on that team making $12,000, and he thinks I should get the same as those guys. And I'm a generational player. He clearly is. He's 80 points to 100 points a season. He would completely change our team. And what I was telling you last night, yes, Bill Armstrong always says, like with the draft and with free agency, he goes for the best player available. And that is absolutely Marner. Without a question, it's Marner. Is that what we need for our team right now? I think we need sandpaper. I think we need some bullies. Mm-hmm. I think we need Sam Bennett. I know that I get chirped on my media because I keep saying Sam Bennett. And people are like, oh, well, he's elbowed 2. Well, I guess he elbowed another goalie last night. But, yeah, he's
about to win his second Stanley and represent in 3 straight, right?
3 straight cups.
He's been there all 3, right?
Yeah. And he's like, when you look at how you're going to make an NHL Stanley Cup run, it starts with Barkov, and then it immediately goes to Bennett, and then you got to add Kachuk. You got to have the sandpaper. You got to have these guys that are going to come in and hit.
Because when rubber meets the road, it's old school hockey.
It is. It's old school
Just like
hockey.
you texted me.
Yeah.
So if you had your choice between Marner or Bennett, you're taking Bennett.
I take Bennett, but I'm going to tell you we can get them both.
Whoa!
For what?
We can get them. They're both unrestricted. We have the money. It just depends on how crazy we want to be because we have to sign Cooley again this year. We have to up him. He's got to be $8 million at least, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but the other thing we have going, all right, so you got a guy that's asking $12 million in Toronto. You come to Utah where the taxes are less, the living expenses are a lot less, and you say, look, we'll give you 8. We'll give you 10. He's going to want 8 years. That seems to be what his camp is asking for. In Toronto, he wants 8. He wants 14 times 8. So I think if you get him at 10 and get Bennett at 8, that's $18 million. We still have $5 million left. But we still got.
So this is just way different than NBA talk.
A little bit, yeah.
Just so everybody,
Yeah.
the reason Scotty and I are kind of sitting here with our mouth open because you don't talk like this about NBA stuff. If there's one guy in the NBA that's available, it's like, oh no, you don't say, man, maybe we could get Giannis with the money that we've got. But what's crazy is we might be able to get who is another middling.
Well, Giannis and Kawhi.
Reeves. Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves. And we could probably, you just don't do that with the NBA.
Right.
But if you're telling me,
look, I'm telling you that there's potential.
There's a possibility that you could do it.
And they're both unrestricted?
Yeah, they're both unrestricted. So Marner's camp would have to say, yeah, we'll come to Utah for less. And Bennett would say, yeah, we're coming for less, because you still got to get Cooley signed. We can't overextend. So, but it just so happens that the cap goes up $9 million this year, which is perfect to bring in. That's just basically getting Bennett for free.
So there's I'm
not saying it's going to happen.
I had
just saying it can.
Yeah.
I had an NBA GM tell me once, there's no such thing as a bad contract in terms of money. It's years that get you into trouble.
Yep.
When you look at the kind of years those two would want, what are you looking at?
They're both going to want 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. And that's why I think, I think what's going to happen, honestly, what I think happens with Marner, I'll just say it out loud right now.
That would put Bennett at 36.
Yeah. Yeah.
36 years old.
Which is fine.
Well, Obi's going at 40. So.
Yeah. The problem is the way he plays. I don't know, can you get that out of somebody that long? Ovechkin's been a bowling ball forever, and he just keeps ticking. But what I think happens is the writing is on the wall right now for Jack Eichel to leave Vegas and go back to New York and play for the Rangers. He's a New York boy. I think he goes to the Rangers. And I think they give him the money he wants, and I think that opens up Vegas and Anaheim to really go after Marner. So when it comes down to it, I think it comes into, everybody's going to make their best offer. And I think if I'm Mitch Marner and I'm mad because I didn't win a cup in Toronto, I want to prove that I can win a cup now when I'm young and I know I can put up another 100 points. And if I can take Jack Eichel's spot on the Vegas Golden Knights right now with the Vegas supporting staff, the problem is we don't know if Stone's going to be healthy enough to play next year. I highly doubt that you get a season out of that guy, and he is the heartbeat of that team. But if I'm reading the tea leaves right, I think Marner ends up with Vegas and Jack Eichel ends up in a Rangers jersey, and I think we get Bennett.
So
don't hate that.
So that would put Marner at 36 as well. So because both Bennett and Marner are both 28 right now. But Bennett's got 3 consecutive years of Stanley Cup experience.
Right.
But Marner put up 102 points. Bennett put up 51 points. Marner put up 102 points.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. And you know me. I love the physicality.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I'll take the Bennett because, you got to have the dude.
I would like to give Bennett $8 million or $9 million for 6 years. I don't want to go 8 years with him. But that seems to be what everybody's camp is trying to get on these new UFAs that are coming off their last RFA. So, it's basically age-based. That's why they're both going to be, if they both sign 8, they'll both be 36. They both entered the NHL at 18. They've both been generational players. They're both phenomenal. I think we have guys that can score 80 to 100 points. I think Cooley, Gunther, and Keller are those guys. I think they can put up those points. They need somebody clearing space and setting them up. And I think with a guy like Keller out there, you're going to find that puck's going to hit your stick in the most optimal spots, and you'll see Bennett's points jump. He'll be a line, because he could be a line one guy here.
In terms of years, how long can you extend Cooley? 8 on him too, or
I would go 8 right away. Yeah.
Because obviously you want to go as long as you can. He's
coming off his entry level contract.
Is there a collective bargaining agreement in terms of how many years you can sign a guy?
No, but they're discussing it now because we had some contracts that sunk teams before. It's Suter and Parise signed 10-year, $110 million deals. I think maybe they're 11-year, $110 million deals. So
11 years.
Yeah.
So you really can't attach years.
And they did not get the money out of those guys, and it ended up really kind of messing with the Minnesota Wild. And those guys basically came in and took over the team and were like, "Hey, we bought a rink, practices at our rink today," and so they started.
It's got your Kawhi Paul George thing going on.
It got a little too crazy for Minnesota. So I think the GMs and the owners are like, hey, let's cap it at 8. But man,
but that's more of a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Hey, do you have time to hang out?
Sure. Yeah.
You okay if we stick around and talk a little bit more? I know we got good, bad, the ugly, but we can push that.
We're going to bury good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah.
If you'll stay one more second.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
I love it. Jay Stevens hanging out with us here in studio, your hockey, NHL, Utah Mammoth insider, and the hockey concierge for the Hans and Scotty Show. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
That's right. Yeah!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jay Stevens, our hockey insider, hanging out with us for another segment. Kind enough to come in studio with us. All right, so anybody gonna mess with Florida? I mean, they're just dump trucking teams right now.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 years. I keep picking Florida, and I keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, is Florida is built for the playoffs. They start from game 1 like it's playoffs. They play super physical. They play right to the line. They push the envelope sometimes. They have those guys that, I mean, adding Marchand, I mean, just the fact that they had the tie-in with the Rat before, but everybody always calls Marchand the biggest rat in the NHL. The fact that he's on that team now, they just have everything they need.
Is that where they were shooting the rubber rats at him?
So, yeah. And the Rats...
Did you see that?
Yeah.
And the Rats came, there's the tie-in from way back in the day where I thought it was when Ray Ferraro, when he was playing there, they had a Rat just show up in the locker room while they were getting dressed. Because, their old locker room used to flood and stuff, and they were in their first Stanley Cup run where they lost to the Avalanche. And they ended up just shooting. He just walked up and took a slap shot with that Rat that was in the locker room, killed it right there in the locker room. And so now they're like, it's part of the legacy because after that happened, they had a really good playoff run. So it's that was kind of their thing anyway. It's in their Stanley Cup ring from last year. There's a Rat in it. And then the fact that they got the Rat, it almost, I don't know. It's like everything comes together. But Marchand is that player. If he's on your team, he can do so many things right for you. And if you're playing against him, you hate playing against him every time he's on the ice. He's going to punch you in the kidney.
People hate him.
Oh, man. I hate him.
Because I know one game, I can't remember which game it was, he spent like 10 minutes in the box.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
He was in the box pretty much. So, I always look at a guy like Marchand and I think, well, wait a second. He's great and that aggression. But then I'm like, do I need a guy that's going to put me behind the ball?
Well, he has definitely cost his team at times. And you've seen that happen. Edmonton's almost blown it a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
With Kane, and let's see, who else? I want to say Corey Perry. They're having guys that are doing the same stupid things, ending up in the box. So it's, yeah.
Are there some guys that get like a Draymond Green, like a Lifetime Achievement Award, where they're going to end up in the box just more almost on reputation?
Oh, yeah. For sure, and that's
anything.
Marchand for sure. Actually, Bennett gets out.
I was going to say, Sam Bennett qualify as one of those guys,
and he's been suspended a few times. So for everybody that's chirping me about him elbowing the goaltender, let's go back to the fact that the NHL reviewed that and said it wasn't a cheap play. It was a hockey play, and those things happen. And I can tell you, being in that spot when guys are coming from left to right, you're just vulnerable when you're in the butterfly like that.
One thing that's crazy to me about hockey, and I watched Carolina skate off the sweep, and, they got the win to push to Game 5. And I'm watching the first period last night, and Carolina's got a quick 2-0 lead through the first, and I'm like, okay, awesome. Maybe we'll get a Game 6 out of this series. And within 30 seconds, Florida, boom, boom, 30 seconds, back to back. What happens in that?
Does a
goalie blink or
no?
Because this is on Carolina ice. This is in their environment. That goalie disallowed anything coming through in the first period, and then all of a sudden, boom,
it just seems like they always come in waves.
Yeah, and he's a phenomenal goaltender. Freddie Anderson's he's been in the NHL for a long time. He's an experienced guy. That's why they went out and got him, and he was playing great hockey. What happened is somebody took a stupid penalty at a bad time when they just killed off a power play, and then they went shorthanded, gave up a goal, and then gave up an amazing scoring opportunity that, it looked like that second goal looked like it was a pass going to the wide guy, and there just happened to be another guy wide open coming down the middle. So Anderson's going from right to left trying to get to where the puck's going to be and doesn't read that second guy's not going to get picked up, that middle guy. And, you have, as a goaltender, you have to play where that puck's going to be. It's a split second. It's not even a second, right? It's a microsecond, and you have to just go based on how many times you've seen that same thing in practice. You have to get your left foot as far over there as you possibly can, and if somebody else doesn't pick up their guy, you've already read that there's a guy wide open on your left side, right? The backdoor play's wide open, and you've read it, you see it coming, that's what you're playing. You don't expect the middle to be wide open too.
How often when you see a goal, this is kind of an unfair question, but when you see a goal and we immediately go to the goalie, like he gave that up, but there's a good chunk of time that probably in film room somebody else is getting blamed for that goal, not the goalie.
100%. And that's not so. As a goalie, we know, like I say, I know, like, if that's that backdoor play and I can get to it, I know that even if I don't get to it, that backdoor shouldn't be open, right? On a power play, it's a little bit different. Spots are going to be open. You don't play as wide out. You have to stay deeper in the net because you know that it's going to be, they're going to be going for that backdoor play. That's the whole thing. Power plays are set up to create a 2-on-1 so they can get a backdoor or a one-time pass from behind the net. And so goalies know, and goalie coaches know, and coaches know who is responsible for that goal. Fans don't know. For fans, and especially as a goalie parent, when my son was playing hockey and I'm watching goals, everybody's like, "Oh, our goalie sucks." I'm like, "Well, first of all, it's my son. Second of all, there's a lot of things that have to go wrong to get to that point, right?" So, yeah, do NHL goalies give up soft, confusing goals sometimes? Absolutely. Does Bobrovsky do it sometimes? Does Carey Price, the best goalies in the league? Vasilevsky gave up a soft one that, kind of turned the series around a little bit for Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky's one of the best goalies in the league by far. And it happens, but everybody knows whose fault it is. Everybody knows, and the film room, it does suck because you definitely pointed out.
What's happened in this series that's going to close out tonight? Edmonton's probably going to close out, I would imagine, Dallas. I don't know if they can skate it off. But what happened to Rantanen? Because he was on the craziest run in postseason history, and then conference finals come around, and he shuts it down, or what?
Edmonton's built for the championship. Like there is no space. There is no space on the ice. We call it gapping in the NHL or in hockey. And if you see any time a Dallas player gets that puck, there's somebody immediately on him, and just stick to stick so you don't have room to make a pass, body to body so you don't have room to skate. What Edmonton doing is the same thing that Florida did to Carolina. Carolina's a speed team, or a finesse team. They just took time and space from them every time they got the puck. Their goal was to stop them from creating speed. Rantanen needs speed. Robertson needs speed. Those guys that are scoring goals for Dallas, they have to have time and space. And Edmonton is built. They just keep matching that. That's where that second line comes in. We talk about how important a second line center is. That second line center is constantly on Rantanen and not giving him any time and space to be creative or to see. Like, you've just got somebody's shoulder right in your eye the whole time.
So it's more what Edmonton did than what Rantanen.
Yeah, 100%.
So is Edmonton one of the best teams? If you're going to put up a team that can go toe-to-toe with Florida, is it Edmonton?
Yeah, 100%.
We asked that, by the way, because we're about to watch an NBA Finals that is probably sweep. I got to imagine if OKC doesn't sweep Indiana, then it's probably a 4-1. And we don't need 2 4-1 championships. Like, I need a Game 7 in the Stanley. And you're telling me Edmonton and Florida could potentially be a Game 7 type series?
It was last year. Like, this is just a replay from last year.
Yeah.
So what's crazy is at the beginning of the season, all the experts were saying it was going to be Dallas and Carolina. And I just kept saying, I think it's going to be Florida and somebody else. Like, I don't know who else, but somebody else. But I know Florida's going to be there. I thought Edmonton would have more self-destruction from losing Game 7 last year. I thought there would be more damage and more fallout and more finger pointing. And you know how teams, they kind of self-destruct after making it to a championship. And then plus other players jump ship and go chase money. So I was kind of surprised that Edmonton made it back.
Is Connor McDavid the best of this series? Is
He's
he
amazing.
the best player in both off both rosters?
He's the best player in the NHL.
Okay.
He is. Like,
So that plays for something, right?
Yeah.
In a Stanley Cup final, having the best guy on the ice.
yeah, and it's not like he doesn't have support too. He's got great guys around him too, you know, and it's I don't know.
By the way, Hyman's done for the.
Yeah.
He's out.
And what a fluke hit. It wasn't even
Yeah.
a dirty hit, right? Like, but you still have Draisaitl. Like, as long as McDavid has Draisaitl on his side, then they're dangerous. They're always going to be dangerous. The Hyman thing just blew my mind because, man, it wasn't much of a hit. It just must have hit him perfectly.
I thought it was it was like a glancing
Yeah.
blow.
And sometimes those are the worst ones, right? You're just not ready for it. I don't know what he had surgery on. They're kind of, it looked like an elbow or a wrist, maybe.
Wrist, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a wrist. I think they said a wrist or hand surgery.
I'm trying to remember though. Last year, how did Florida handle McDavid? What kind of series did he have last year?
I don't know right off the top of my head. I know that it was Keith Tkachuk or Matty Tkachuk was lined up with,
Yeah.
and he was in his face the whole time, and so that's pretty good for Tkachuk to even be able to keep up with him. But it wasn't just keeping up with him. It was doing the little cheap shots and the little face rubs and keeping him frustrated and off his game as much as it was anything else.
Let's see, Scotty, I'm just pulling this up. 23-24 postseason. It looks like McDavid, he had a good run.
He puts up points.
I mean,
Yeah.
his top performer in 3 of the 7.
What's the saying? You're not gonna stop him. You can just hope to contain him.
You hope to contain him, no doubt. And Florida is built to contain a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it should be a fun series.
Who do you want to see win this? I want to see Florida just because you get this whole U.S. Canada.
That's the part for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to see somebody different win it this year. I kind of do every year, except for now. From now on, I just want Utah to win it. But I can't root for Edmonton. Like, I like the fact that Canada hasn't won a cup for
93.
Yeah, and I know that every team's basically all Canadians. I know that the majority of the Mammoth are Canadians.
Yeah.
I think it's 8, and then with 7 Americans. But it's and we're getting some more Russians. We'll be 3 Russians this year. But I don't know. I just kind of think it's funny, and I enjoy it. And I work with a couple Canadians, so I think it's fun to rub it in their face.
Scotty, this is 6 consecutive trips to the Stanley Cup final for Florida teams.
Just incredible.
6.
Yeah.
3 straight by Tampa, 3 straight by Florida.
I thought Tampa had a really good shot this year. That should not have been the first series of the playoffs. We should go back to the 1-8. It would have eliminated, because the playoffs were just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we get to the conference finals, and it's a 4-1, 4-1. Like, it's just...
It did feel early for the Battle of Ontario and the Battle of Florida.
Exactly.
It felt early for both.
Exactly. It should not have happened. We should be watching that right now.
Yeah.
You are the man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Always good catching up with you.
Thanks, guys. Love
Thanks,
being
Jay.
here.
That is the man himself, Jay Stevens, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A little whole world news coming up next.
Go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole.
It is time for another edition of Whole World News. Hoping to chat with Mitch Harper sometime next hour, who's down at Big 12 meetings. But it's time to span the globe to find something that we hope is somewhat interesting. We're going to go to North Elba, New York today, Hans. 2 hikers in New York's Adirondack Mountains. I think I said that right. Adirondack Mountains. They called 911 in a panic to say, number one, that they were lost in the mountains and they needed assistance. And number 2, that they had a third member of their party and he had died.
Okay.
Had fallen off a cliff.
Jeez.
And was dead. And they were in a panic. They said, we need your help. We are lost. Our third member of our party has passed away. So the state forest ranger responded to that call. They found the hikers, and they said, okay, let's get you back to your campsite, get your gear, and then we'll go search for the man who had passed away. Mm-hmm. They take him back to the campsite, and they found the third member of the crew that was just fine. They then realized that these hikers didn't seem all quite there upstairs. In fact, the official term was a altered mental state. But they found out that the two were extremely high on hallucinogenic mushrooms that they had taken recreationally, to the point where the third member went back to camp and they just thought that he had fallen off a cliff and was dead, and they themselves were lost. And when they returned to camp, found, oh no, Bob over here is just fine, and we're tripping like crazy. It was they hallucinated the whole thing.
So what do you do? Do you charge them?
I would charge them. Yes, absolutely. The Rangers escorted the two.
Do you make them pay for the rescue operation?
1,000%.
That's thousands.
Yep.
Tens of thousands.
The third member was not high on drugs. In fact, he didn't know that they were taking drugs. He was more than happy to submit to any kind of test. He goes, I'm fine. I'm just been here waiting for these two jokers to come back down.
That are tripping
like crazy. So the ranger escorted the two hikers to an ambulance, which took them to a hospital. The dude was fine.
They're going to get hit.
Yeah. Because you got an ambulance, you got the Rangers that had to get involved to find them.
Does it say the length of process? Was that just 1 day?
Just 1 day. Yeah, they found them very quickly.
Yeah, I'll bet it's in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Probably 10 to 20,000.
And we have a good friend of ours who sells for the station, Jen Tanner. Or not Jen Tanner. I'm sorry. Jen Tanner. Sorry. That's what she does on the weekend. She's a ranger, essentially, on search and rescue. Oh. And I've asked her, like, do the people get hit with the bill? And she said some counties they do, some they don't. And hers, it's taxpayers that foot the bill for it. But I got to imagine something like this, then they'd say, no. You're going to pay for this.
You're going to get charged with drug possession unless you're in Colorado.
Yeah.
And, right, because, Colorado, you pretty much ingest anything you want.
Everybody's tripping there.
Everybody's on something. So you're going to get popped with drug possession and falsifying, and I would say tying up search and rescue, because what if there's an actual search and rescue? There's got to be charges, pretty serious charges.
I would think so.
Well, enjoy that.
Yeah. Hope those mushrooms were worth it. All right. Mitch Harper expected to join us sometime in the 2 o'clock hour. He's hoping to snag a one-on-one with Brett Yormark, so we'll work around that and chat a little BYU, Big 12, Utah, Big 12, coming up next. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.